Welcome. I've been expecting you. And of course, as we previously agreed, all I'm going to be offering you is simply the truth. Now then, take the white buds, and you'll continue to hear as you always have, just moving along, unchanged, observing the status quo. But take the black buds, and suddenly I'll show you just how deep your ear canal goes with a personalized measurement and listening profile. It was a nice day out, and frankly, things were not much quieter inside, so I figured I'd just do this out here, because why not? So, PerL Pro's got a pretty impressive feature set. You can see I'm in my ears here. These guys are good for 8 hours of battery life, plus an additional 3 charges in the case, and I find that to be mostly true. And that beats most things that you're going to see on the market. You know, like AirPod Pros, I think, are rated for 5 or 6 hours, so 8 is pretty solid. These actually use a really cool version of Bluetooth called aptX Lossless, which of course claims lossless transmission, at least of audio files. It's hard to say whether subjectively through listening if that's true, because sometimes the difference between lossless and lossy is not always as great as we think it is, though it's certainly a benefit, don't get me wrong. But for what it's worth, the sound quality of the Pearls do make me think that that's accurate, because they sound really good, especially once they've been personalized, but we'll get to that. There's really not many other so-called high-end earbuds, or truly wireless buds, or headphones at all for that matter, that are Bluetooth that actually have that. So that's one of the newest, latest and greatest features of the Pearls, and it's definitely setting them apart. But of course, there's more to talk about. This has features like noise canceling. It's got a social mode, which is essentially like an ambient aware, or what some others call a transparency mode. And the Anc is good. The social mode leaves a little bit to be desired, and I'm going to get into that. But first, let's talk about the Anc, and I actually came up with what I think is a fun little test for that is a little bit different than what you typically see a YouTube reviewer do, but very valid and a very good torture test of how well Anc can work. So let's get to it. We're going to mow the lawn. Truly one of the best tests for Anc that I've ever discovered. Now, of course, when one mows the lawn, one must be properly prepared. Now we're ready to go. So, for this test, we're going to pit the Denons, which I've got in right now, against the venerable AirPods Mark II. All right, test number 1 is the push mower. These are the Denons. Let's go. All right, so now we're going to compare against the AirPod Pro version 2. Again, more noise canceling on a push mower. So who wins the push mower wars? Well, as far as mowers go, definitely Milwaukee. But as far as the headphones go, that's a narrow victory for the AirPod Pros, at least in terms of noise canceling performance. Now, as far as actually listening to music while doing work, both are still pretty close. This is a tough battle, though we'll see if when we up the ante a little bit, how the Denon fares. And why do I hear Boss music? Don't know if either of them are going to survive this. As for which of our players are going to be able to handle the Boss battle, Denon's the first contestant. All right, so the Denons have shot their shot. Now the AirPods go up against the Boss. Let's see who wins. So who stood up to the boss and won the battle? Much like with the push mower battle, the AirPods are winning the ANC war. So the AirPods take this chapter. So some just additional thoughts on the mower wars. They ended about as I expected. The ANC in the Denon is good, don't get me wrong, and it's totally passable, absolutely. But when it comes to ANC performance, in this industry, Sony, previously Bose, and still kind of sort of, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Apple, have always just dominated for ANC. I mean, smoked almost everybody by a margin of at least 50%, if not being twice as good. And it looks like that holds up. Things like the Sony Buds still cancel super well. The AirPod Pro 2s just came out of nowhere when Apple dropped those, and it was like, oh my gosh, the noise canceling is insane. And the Denons, as I said earlier, they're like maybe about 20%, if I had to try to put a number on it, behind the AirPod Pro 2s. But that's, of course, a very respectable performance. And it is still eons better than having something that is just purely passive with no ANC whatsoever, or God forbid ever trying to mow the lawn on that Husqvarna with nothing in your ears and feeling like you're not going to hear right for the rest of the day. So they still performed admirably, if you ask me. Anywho, about time for the next segment. So we say goodbye to Mr. Lawnmower Hat and put on some clothes that aren't junk. All right, so we're back in the chair. ANC Performance is good. I don't think it's the best I've seen in a bud, but it's by no means bad, and I'm good with it. Maybe with a little bit of improvements to the software, Denon can further improve that. ANC is just as much software as it is the hardware, so we'll see how that goes. But it's definitely in a respectable tier. It's not really something that you're going to be regretting because of that. As far as that social mode goes, or that transparency mode, that needs a little work. I mean, yeah, it works, just not particularly well. I think Denon needs to give us an adjustable gain for the social mode where we can actually turn up what we're hearing in the environment a little bit. Granted, most other products don't do this either, but they just come out of the box with a better setting, if you ask me. They feel like they're less in the way. The AirPod Pros, that's one of the better ones. It just kind of feels like they're almost not there. They're not perfect either, but it's pretty good. The Denons, it's like, yeah, there's definitely still something in my ear getting in the way, and it's not coming through as clearly as I'd like. You know what's funny is in the app, these have a high gain mode for listening, as if you just need to push a little harder for more volume, which can also cause a bit of distortion or clipping at times, and I don't even use it because I didn't think it was necessary, but it's there, so that gives me an idea. Hey Denon, can you give us a high gain mode, or better yet, a separate adjustable volume for social mode? If you do that, I think that problem goes away, and then can actually become competitive for being one of the best if it was actually adjustable. So something to think about and a consideration for us buyers. One of my other gripes with the PerL Pro is, for me, my left bud, and maybe this is because I got a pre-release sample, maybe I've just got something strange going on, maybe it's in the software, every now and then starts to make a fuzzy noise, almost like the ANC mic is kind of freaking out and not being exactly accurate, or like it wants to go into social mode, but it's not quite. Though it seems like one of those bugs or artifacts that can occur with ANC. And it was only happening in my left bud from time to time, and I'd find that I'd have to pop it out, kind of let it reset, pop it back in, you know, get it snug and comfortable in my ear again. And it would usually right itself after that. But that did have a tendency to happen with almost every use at some point. Sometimes within a minute or two, sometimes not for a half hour. It was kind of weird. So again, that could just be a quirk of my particular sample/copy, or that could be a software issue. Denon, I would encourage you to look a little bit into that. And for anyone watching, of course, to thinking about buying these, that might be a consideration. Hopefully that's just a weird bug I'm having, or it can be patched out with software. But one thing I noted. My overall recommendation for the Denon PerL Pro, how do I feel about it? Ultimately, I really like them. I think they need some quality of life improvements. I think the app is good. It could just use a little bit of polish in some places. The personalization setup and running through that, that's all fine. That works really, really well. just in the menu systems and stuff like that, I'd like to see a little more polish. I'm not calling it bad. I'm just being a bit of a stickler here because that's my job. I usually think of software for products like this, and I tend to put Apple or Bose at the top when it comes to software experience. And I'd put maybe the Denon in a second tier if those were first tier. So that's just, again, me nitpicking a little bit. It otherwise works just fine. It's not particularly buggy. Again, just looking for things that I can call out as a reviewer. I'd really like to see an adjustable option for the social mode or some sort of high gain function there. I think that needs some tuning and some polish. And I want to see that ANC bug, or just that kind of whooshy, what's happening to my left bud problem, get sorted. Otherwise, as far as just general user experience, sound quality, comfort, I find AirPods Pro slightly more comfortable, but I wouldn't call these uncomfortable. They're fine. And I did find that having the longer wings with the large size buds seems to be right for me. I kind of wish that there was like 5 sizes where you had something in between medium and large, and then I think it'd be perfect. But that's just a quirk of me being me, perhaps. As for the crux of the lossless, the adaptive / personalization technology, that's obviously what Denon is trying to nail here, and I think they did it. This is easily one of the best sounding truly wireless earbuds there have ever been, and that was the goal, and the goal's been achieved. So well done, Denon. Guys, if these are on your list of considerations, I'd say go for it. I think they're probably one of the coolest products on the market right now. Now that said, just to be honest, things like the AirPod Pro 2, the Sony XM5, the Bowers & Wilkins PI7, those are all worthy competitors, and you're really not going to go wrong with any of them. But I'm going to give the Denon the edge for just their actual inbuilt technology and the feature set, because aptX lossless and the personalization, nothing else is really doing that. It doesn't put them heads and shoulders above everything else, but it does help them pull through in some scenarios. So give them a go. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And the whole personalization setup is actually really fun to go through. It just sounds cool. It's direct for your ears. Like, how cool is that? Now, a note about that personalization, you get 3 memory slots on your phone as if you were going to have 3 different users. If you're just buying these for yourself, that's probably not going to be the case, right? So here's what I actually recommend. Use all 3 slots, run the personalization 3 times. Listen to them all, and then pick the one that you think sounds best. Every now and then when you rerun it, you might get a slightly better result. That's what I like doing. Just do the best 3, pick the one that I think is best, and run with it. Between each one, maybe just try to adjust the fitment a little bit and really squeeze out the best personalization. I ran it like 3 times myself. The first one sounded fine, but then I actually thought the second one came back the best. So I've been running with that, and I've been really happy. So just a little tip about how to use them. Go ahead and implement that. I think you'll squeeze the best out of the PerL Pro.
Future Editing Luke back yet again. This was supposed to be the part where I show you a screen grab of running through the personalization process on the Denon app. However, for whatever reason, it does not like when the screen is being recorded and would always run into some kind of issue. And it is the only issue I ever had with the personalization process. Otherwise, it was flawless. Don't know what's going on there, but unfortunately, I can't show you until I get that sorted. And I've wasted enough time and delayed this video too long trying to figure it out, so we're going to skip it. Now, back to action.
All right, guys, well, that's a wrap on my review of the Denon PerL Pro. In a word, I think they're pretty awesome. Got a couple quirks, but they're simple things. I think that can easily be improved upon. But if you're looking for something in the running for best sounding truly wireless earbud currently available, these are absolutely competing and maybe taking the top slot right now, so give them a look. Denon, you did good, especially if you can address some of those points I made. These are going to be near perfect, so well done, my friends. And guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll have some more reviews of stuff like this actually at home here, and I've got like 1 or 2 more audio advice videos coming for you as well, so be seeing you.